You know, back in the old days, there was this program called Layaway where you can go into like a store and start making payments on something, some high dollar ticket item. And once you paid that off every month, it was yours. You could take it home. That's how I bought my first deer rifle from the Marine Corps PX on Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. And it was the first, weapon that I bought that I purchased myself. It wasn't a hand-me-down. It wasn't my dad's. It wasn't anything like that. So I went and I picked out this 30-06, and I just didn't have a lot of money. And so I did the layaway program, but I needed a scope on it. And the cheaper scopes were all sold out. And so I bumped up to like this entry-level loophole scope and put that on the layaway program and had them all, put the whole package together for me and all that. Made the payments and finally got to bring it home. Ever since then, almost every rifle I've owned has had a loophole scope. In fact, I'm having a custom rifle built this year, and it's going to have the loophole Mark 5 HD scope on it. I just killed a buffalo with that scope. It's a really great product. And loophole guys, you know them. Everybody knows loophole. They've been around since like 1907. They started as like a special instrument company or something like that. But these American-made products are fantastic. Whether you're looking for a spotter, binos, a rifle scope, accessories, tripods, bipods, all that kind of stuff. You can find it all at loophole.com. And I'd really appreciate if you supported this American company that has a great American story. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of a company, and I'm so happy and thrilled that they've chosen to partner with the Western Huntsman. Thanks to Leupold, and thanks to you guys for supporting our great sponsors. Experience the evolution of accuracy with the new Browning X-Bolt 2. Guys, this rifle is something else. With the introduction of the X-Bolt, Browning has set a new standard in the development of bolt-action rifles. It was created around the goal of total accuracy, where every component worked in unison to improve downrange performance straight out of the box, from windswept tundras to rocky peaks high above the tree line to African plains and everywhere in between. The X-Bolt delivered the tack-driving accuracy a Browning rifle is respected for. And that's super true, guys. I really like this rifle from a standpoint of, like, it's not super heavy, it's not super light. I put a really nice scope on it. I love that Veritech stock because that is like one of those pieces of accuracy that, that interface between the rifle and the shooter. Not everybody's the same size. The DLX trigger, you can get the Plus magazine system for extra rounds. Great all-around rifle in the field. For those of you that are looking for a rifle this year to take to the field that you can feel real confident in and get really comfortable with, this is the rifle to check out. The Browning X-Bolt 2 should be one of your top contenders. Link is in the show notes. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to make this elk season your best season yet? If you answered yes, my friends, you are in the right place. From the Western Huntsman podcast, brought to you by Phelps Game Calls, welcome to the School of September, the most comprehensive elk hunting series on the planet. We bring you the world's top archery elk experts to talk strategy, calling, and everything else to get you one step closer to some of your wildest dreams. From the Broken Tine Studio to your knowledge toolbox, class is in session. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this next installment of School of September with my good buddy Bugling Bob Capka. You guys are I think I've been talking about you for a while, Bob, so I hope the audience is ready. But guys, this is going to be a really good episode. Bob is one of the, well, let me tell you where I met him. We've talked a little bit about the guide and packer school up at Elk Creek Outfitting. And one of the things that we do at the guide school is bring in Bob to teach people how to do elk calling. And he brings in like all these different calls, and he sits down with everybody and goes through different bugles and strategies and stuff like that. But Bob's got like 20 some odd years of guiding up there. And he is rumored to be one of the most successful September archery guides in Elk Creek Outfitting history. And so I'm pretty excited about this one. You guys are going to really like it. Bob, I appreciate you joining me, man.
Hey, good to be here, Jim.
Yeah, man. So let's kick it off first. Let's tell us a little bit about you. Give us like a quick bio, and we'll dive into this.
Sure. Well, I come from a hunting family. We grew up in Oregon. We started hunting in the early 80s with bows, about 1984, 85-ish. I've got 3 brothers, so we started bow hunting, and we just me and one of my brothers, Matt, he's a guide as well. We just took off with it, man. I mean, there's nothing I'd rather do than call elk and chase elk with a bow. So we hunted for, on our own. We used to do the whole month hunt, the entire archery season. And so this is where we met the outfitter, Brent Fitchett. We were on one of those Idaho kind of, roadless area. We were up there for a month, and this guy comes riding up on a dirt bike, and it's Brent Fitchett. And we kind of hit it off, and I asked him where he got his guides, and he said, "Oh, I kind of get them for wherever, and he goes, I'd hire you." And so I started guiding in 1998, actually. So it's been more almost 30 years. But
Holy cow, man.
98 was my first year guiding up there at Elk Creek. And, I was still learning the country up there, but we had a good year, got some nice bulls and stuff. And it kind of took off from there. Boss is actually the one that gave me the nickname Bugling Bob.
Oh, really?
Kind of fun. Yeah, that's where it came from. The hunters would come in from all over the place, and the guys that wanted to walk and go out and call and run around the mountains like crazy. He'd go, "You guys are going with old Bugling Bob over there," and the other guys would come in. And, maybe a heavy set guy from the Midwest, he'd go with Tree Stand Tim.
Tree Stand Tim. Yep.
Tree Stand Tim. So anyways, it was amazing. I got to spend all those years up there guiding full time for almost 15 years, like, the entire archery season, the entire rifle season. Just learned a ton of country. And when you get that much time to call elk and at all, parts of the season, early season, mid season, late season, it was just incredible. It was, no substitute for experience. And so to be able to do it that much, it was incredible. And so, anyways, I used to live right up there next to you guys. I was in Hope, Idaho for a lot of years, and moved back to Oregon about 10 years ago. And I just go back up to the lodge, every other year for 2 to 3 weeks, and take some kind of select guys, buddies, and things like that. But yeah, that's in a nutshell, man. Just been calling elk all my life. When we were kids, all I wanted to do was be a good elk caller. And so I'll just tell you this, for us, it started really organically. We had, there was no YouTube. We had videos, 8-track cassettes,
Books.
Of Larry Jones and Dwight Shue and Mike Lipinski and all these old school guys. And when we first started calling elk, it was the little coiled up tube. It was just a whistle. And then we got into the Elk Inc., cow talk calls and Abe and Sons. And then we kind of switched over to some Primos calls. Glenn Berry, I've been using that Thunder Bugle as part of my arsenal for decades. I've called in more bulls with that particular call than anything really. So I've been through seen the whole every decade of different calls that came along, and different celebrities that come along, and it's been interesting, to be a part of it and watch it all happen.
Yeah, man. And you've kind of just immersed, you made your whole life kind of around this, because now you're like a technician or something at the bow shop. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So when I came back to Oregon, I toured for a while. Once I moved away from Idaho, I also play guitar and some rock bands and stuff. Anyways, I got to tour the world a little bit for about 5 years and see a lot of cool countries. But then I ended up at the archery shop where I grew up shooting. It's called Archers Afield, and we're in Tigard, Oregon. I started working here about 10 years ago. And I fix bows for a living. I tune bows. I do we have bow hunter night every Thursday year round here. So I'm shooting year round animal targets, broadheads. We started broadheads really early this year, about in April. We started shooting broadheads, and it's been incredible. And so, that's my whole life is, I spend 5 months winter steelheading, gets me through the winter from December through April. And then it's just nothing but elk from then on. So.
That's awesome. I want to know a little bit more. I didn't know you toured. I didn't know you went out tell me a little bit about, because you and I have we have real similar backgrounds in a lot of ways, man. I used to tour as well. back in the old days. But it doesn't sound. It sounds like you went a little more extensive than I did, because you're like, oh, I toured around the world. Tell me about that.
I did. It was pretty incredible. So here's an interesting story, Jim. The way I actually ended up in North Idaho, I was in a band, and we used to play 7 nights a week. This was in the early 90s. And we played 7 nights a week at all these different places. We ended up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, playing at this club, and the guy offered us a house job there. So we played there 7 nights a week all summer, college town, super fun. But I was, I'm playing at night, so that left days free to go out and learn the country. It took me a couple of years, to learn the road systems, learn the trails, learn all that country up there. And then, I ended up killing a nice 6-point bull the first year I hunted up there. And so I called my brother, one of them, and said, hey, you got to come up here and hunt. It's amazing. And he came up, and then that, that's where we met Boss. But now, as far as the touring thing goes, I was in Idaho for about, close to 20 something years, and came back to Oregon in about 2012, 2013, and started working at Guitar Center, because I've been doing guitars my whole life as well. And I got a call within 6 months. I got a call from this band called Vicious Rumors, old school metal band from the Bay Area. And they grew up playing with Metallica. They've done a ton of albums. Yeah. And I auditioned for the band, got the job. Next thing you know, I'm running all over Europe, everywhere. I mean, I've been Germany, Switzerland, Austria, the South America, just Italy, all these crazy places. And I did that for about 5 years, also with another band called Black and Blue. They were an old school 80s rock band. I had a couple hit singles. They're actually the guitar player for Black and Blue plays for Kiss. And so he ended up playing Tommy Thayer ends up playing in Kiss. And then I got his job in Black and Blue. And so I played with those guys for a few years until COVID hit. And once COVID hit, all the concerts got canceled and everything. And it was kind of nice. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't got to be anywhere. I don't have to travel. I don't have to rehearse. I don't have to be anywhere. And so that was 2020-ish, 2021, whenever COVID hit, and everything stopped. It stopped for like 2 years. And so I really liked my time off. I had more time to hunt, more time to fish. I didn't have to travel or be anywhere. And so when it started back up a couple years later in 23-ish, I just kind of told my bands, I was like, well, I'm kind of retired a little bit right now. I'm having too much fun.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing is as much as I loved playing music and traveling around and doing, because I didn't do it as extensively as you did. Like when I say we toured around Idaho and Montana, playing rodeos and bars and, these crazy venues that were like a country rock band, and, anyway, but it burns you out after a while. It's just like you're always gone, always, it just like people are like, you must have a lot of extra time because you only play at night. Yeah, except for you're playing way into the night and it ruins the next day, So I don't know.
I'm driving 10 hours to Slovenia all day just to play for an hour. And so,
man.
But it was cool to see, to get out and see a little bit of the world was kind of nice. But, it killed me, man. There was times where I was on tour in September. I missed a couple elk seasons, and man, it broke my heart. That was a rough thing for me because, my whole life revolves around September. And so that was really tough. A couple years.
Yeah, man.
I couldn't be there. I'm getting calls and pictures and all this stuff. And I'm, stuck on a bus somewhere and, the Alps or something.
Or the Alps.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a heck of a story though.
It's just interesting. I always get the Ted Nugent comparison. I get that all the time just because I have long hair and I play rock music and I shoot bows. So it's funny because, when I grew up, before I ever heard of Ted Nugent, we were into shooting bows and I started playing guitar when I was 6 years old, and I grew up in that hunting and fishing family, and that was always my thing. And and that being said, there's one thing about me that's a little different from my brothers is my passion was always elk calling. Like I almost went to guide school out of high school. I ended up touring instead, but I told that to Brent when I met him up there. I said, I almost went to guide school. He goes, oh, you don't need guide school. I'd already been doing it for a lot of years. And so anyways, my thing has always been, I wanted to be a good, not just a hunting guide. I wanted to be a good elk caller. And where my brother Matt is like a world-class mule deer hunter. He hunts in, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon. He hunts multiple states every year, and he shoots big bucks at good distances. He's really into the muley rifle hunting. Where for me, ever since I was a kid, it was like, I want to be a good elk caller. There was something about elk that just got my goat ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's amazing that it's been a long journey. Definitely, you know, there's no substitute for experience. I've learned so much over the years, and I'm always still learning. I mean, you never figure it out, but it's been
I
a
mean,
cool
that's
ride.
the beauty. That's the beauty of elk hunting, man, is gosh, I'm dealing with these allergies, man, and it just like totally clogs my lungs up or something.
It's
anyway,
a July thing. Yeah, my
yeah,
wife,
dude, I'm not sick. I just am dealing with allergies out here. So it doesn't help. I just cut my, it's not even a lawn, it's weeds. So anyway, yeah. So and again, that's the beauty of elk hunting, man, is it's just never ending. It's never ending. We can always learn something, and I love bringing guys like you on that have unique perspectives. And you know, one thing I want to ask you, man, is do you feel like being a musician helped you as an elk caller? Because I've noticed, like, obviously I'm a musician as well, and you know, that's one of my passions. I love playing. I played in an 80s rock band as a drummer, and you know, back in the day when they had the two two bass drums set up kind of like Lars, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I love that stuff, man. I still have, if I had room, I'd still have two bass drums over here on my drum set, but I'm pointing over there. That's where it's sitting. Oh, and by the way, for those of you listening, we are now, I keep forgetting to announce this on the show, but we are now doing the video part of these podcasts. So if you want to watch them on YouTube, Eastman's finally convinced me. I've been telling him for years I'm too ugly to put it on like video, but they've convinced me to do it. And so now if you guys want, like right now, you can jump on YouTube and check out Bob's badass rock and roll hair, and you know, just kind of see this stuff in action, because I don't know, I apparently a lot of people like to do that. I always listen, so whatever. Yeah,
it's like, you know, get a visual and see who's talking to you and stuff. But as far as being a musician, as far as your question goes, being a musician has definitely helped me in my elk calling. I believe that 100%. You know, I hear notes and tones and stuff, and so one of my tactics, you know, is imitating them. So when I hear a bull bugle, and we'll talk about this when we start calling a little bit, I'm hearing the note that they're hitting, and when you hit that same note back at them, it kind of gets their goat a little bit. It's almost like insulting to them that you're doing the exact same thing. And so what I'm getting at is, I hear some bulls, like you'll hear a bugle that will start with a low note and slide up to a high pitch, and then sometimes they start at the high pitch and it drops into the low note. And so if you're hearing those things, if you can hear notes and that sort of thing, pay attention to it, because, you know, a lot of times when I'm talking to a bull, I mean, if he bugles, I like to exact match him. And so if he started high and then went low, I want to start high and go low, if you know, vice versa. So yeah, I think being a musician has definitely helped me as far as what I'm hearing. You know, we have an elk refuge, a couple of them over here in Oregon, and I've done this in Idaho too, but you can just go and bugle with the bulls, you know, they're bugling and stuff. And so it's really cool when, you know, a bull bugles and you just match him. I mean, note for note. It'd be like if you played a lick on the guitar and then I just played the exact same lick. It's like call and response. It's the same thing. And I feel like that's part of what's one of the things I think is definitely helped me, is just being that, you know, having that musical ear. So
yeah, man, I think there's something to it, because, you know, I play guitar. I'm a terrible guitar player, by the way. But it, like, things make sense to me, and being able to mimic the bull and understanding, like, tonality and dynamics, meaning like understanding. Have you ever been hunting with somebody and they've got their bugle tube, and like you hear a bull and it's just like a real whispery, quiet bugle, and the guy you're hunting with pulls his bugle tube to respond to it or something, and he just like screams at the top of his lungs, like that saying, read the room. I think
right.
You don't have to be a musician to understand and know all that. I just think that it like helps initially when you're learning. Like some of the people that I've taught how to call and whatnot, I feel like they the musicians they grasp the tonalities and the concept of like dynamics and sound control and volume control and things like that a little bit better. But we're kind of getting into the weeds with that. But because again, you don't have to be a musician to do it. I've always wondered that, and because I know some really good callers that are not musicians, so I'm not saying it's a prerequisite, right? And so,
of course.
But yeah, man, I want to talk about let's talk about like your overarching strategy when you go in, because both Boss and Rob and a couple other people told me, like, when it comes to calling elk, you have like definitely broke all the records in terms of successful hunters out there at the lodge. Like when hunters, when you get assigned a hunter, there's pretty good odds. In fact, I'd love, if I have a day where I'm not guiding and you are, I'd love to just kind of shadow along with you. But
we'd have a blast. Yeah, we'll do that for
yeah,
sure.
Man. We should. So give me your overarching strategy, man.
Okay, so there's a couple ways to do it, Jim. One of the things I want to mention real quick is I don't feel like I like to cover ground fairly quickly. Early morning. We're raring to go. I try to call in spots that make sense. Okay, so in other words, the ridges I like in Montana are maybe 3 to 5 miles at the most, 5 miles long. A long ridge, right? So I'll get on the top of that ridge, and it's kind of going like this, a little bit of up and down, but there's canyons on both sides of that spine. And so I'll dip off one side a little bit, do a little call-in locating. If nothing happens, I'll just dip off the other side. If nothing happens, I'll move out the ridge a little farther to the next set of ditches, go off this side, go off that side. And then there might be a long finger going off that main ridge. And same thing, I'll go out that finger, dip down a little on each side. And, those elk are in pockets. You just have to find out which pocket they're in. Having hunted up there as long as I have, I kind of have a few favorite ridges where I should hit a bull in September at some point in one of those ditches. And so, I like to travel. I like to locate, and, I'll dive right in. Now, here's something about it too. Once you do locate one, I feel like there's a pace that happens. And for me, it's always been fairly quick. It's not a big, long 4-hour drawn out call session. It's like you hit that bull, he's interested, and now you got to create that encounter. And that's where I think I've had my success is I feel like I know when to be aggressive. Obviously, I've made a million mistakes. I've been too aggressive at times. But I'd rather blow a bull out by trying too hard than just kind of hanging back and hoping that he comes walking my way or something. I'd rather just try to create that encounter. If it doesn't work out, I'll go find another one. But basically what I'm getting at is try to find those spots that you can cover a lot of canyons instead of committing to one canyon right off the bat. If you pick one ditch, they might not be there that day, or maybe they are, but they're not doing anything that second. That's another thing is it's when I've gone out those ridges before and tried to locate elk and I didn't hit them on the way out, and then I hit them on the way back. I do the same thing on the way back. I dip off and call in all these spots, and they were there the whole time. They were just bedded down. Maybe they were rutting late into the night, or you got to give them 4 or 5 hours sometimes. People get in a big hurry sometimes. I think one thing I've definitely learned over the years is in the past, let's say 6-7 years, I've slowed down quite a bit. I go everywhere I want to go. I'm in the same exact country.
It's so interesting, man. Everybody's talking about that too. Like we've all, like, as we mature as hunters or something, we're slowing down a little bit. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I feel like if you slow down, you're more in tune with the woods. There's little subtle things going on. You're paying more attention to sign. It's just it's a long day, and so it's a long week, and it's a long season, and so you could burn yourself out pretty easy. Even when I was younger, we'd run ourselves ragged. By the third week, we're just like, you do start feeling, get your mountain legs, but at the same time, mentally it wears on you because it's all you're thinking about. But I've slowed down a lot in the last few years where I will try to locate like that, but at the same time, if I don't get a response, I'm not trying to force the issue. I've learned a little more patience and kind of let things unfold where I know they're there. It's just a matter of, are they going to bugle now or 3 hours from now? And so a lot of times I'll just be kicking back middle of the day, always in a spot where I can hear where I figure the elk are. And pretty soon they'll bugle and then, okay, now let's go down in there, I don't want to spook anything out of their beds. And then as far as that goes, so yeah, locating is the main thing. But I think where I've had my success is because knowing what to do after you hear a bugle, that's key. And so here's one of the things I talk to everybody about, Jim. This is important. If you hear a bull, if you can determine what kind of bull you're talking to, like that's how you're going to approach your calling. So if I hear a big sounding bull down here and maybe some cows, and then you hear a softer bugle over that way and maybe a thin one over here, you're like, okay, I kind of have an idea. There's a herd bull, and then there's a satellite bull over here and maybe a satellite bull over here. Depending on which elk you're going for is going to determine how you approach your calling. So in other words, you don't want to run down there screaming your head off at a satellite bull early season that has cows. I mean, he's going to leave. And so at the same time, you don't want to be passive on a herd bull. If you got a big bull, a mature bull, I feel like the best way to get him is get as close as you can, as fast as you can, and just put, right in his face. I point my bugle right in their face and scream as hard as I can. You know, I only weigh 150 pounds. I'm a small. I can't be as loud as I want to be. So
I want to back up just a. Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off there, brother? We had a little delay going.
You're fine.
You got fuzzy. I think it's the internet on my end, but that's okay. I want to back up before we get there real quick because there's like you just I need to unpack a lot of what you just said there. Okay. When you say because there's a lot of different opinions out there as to like how to start your day, right? And maybe whether we're going into an area where we already know, like you're saying these ridges up here that you've been guiding in, where the elk are going to be. They're there every year. I've got places like that as well. And then there's areas where I'm sure you hunt often enough where you've never maybe hunted it. And so you're just kind of going in and it's a fact-finding mission and hopefully there's a bull in there somewhere, right? So a lot of people talk about they start low and go up. And you're saying you start high and work your way down, which is kind of what I do. And so what you're doing is you're looking for a ridge system where you've got a main ridge and you've got drainages kind of on each side going down, and it's enough ridge out there to like kind of keep you occupied all day. Yeah. And you start working down at first light and you're bugling into each side. And I'm curious what your bugle sounds like. When like you're locating, can you like demonstrate that part? Or are you starting with cow calls or are you just kind of going into locator?
It's a good question. So what I usually start is I usually start with a soft cow call just in case there's an elk very close by, which is a possibility. So when I walk out a ridge, my thing would be something like this. I get out and first I get to the first little ditch off to the left, let's say, and I walk over to the edge of it. I drop down a little bit, maybe 50 yards off the top. Just the reason I like starting from the top, and I know obviously the wind's blowing down in the morning until it warms up, then the wind's coming up. We all know that. Yeah. What I'm saying is, how often do you get a response that's directly below you downwind? I mean, usually it's off to the side somewhere, and if it is, I'll just run away, get out of the wind. But anyways, that being said, okay, so I walk over soft cow calls first. If you don't get it, just to see if anything's close, feel it out a little bit.
And how long are you waiting after? Like, okay, you just threw out some cow calls, and I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but like these little teeny details, especially for somebody that's never been out, this is important stuff. So like I just threw out a couple of cow calls. Now I'm waiting 30 seconds, 5 minutes.
Yeah. I don't wait 5 minutes. I mean, I give it 30 seconds. Just, a lot of times, I mean, if he's right there, you're going to hear twigs snapping right away. Or, get some sort of response. So I'll give it like really tune in and listen after you call. I mean, you want to hear the faintest little mew or squeal, or sometimes it's just coming from a bull, or a twig snap. But yeah, really get in tune with the woods before you do that. And also I would mention this, learning from making mistakes and experience. When I do that, I prefer when I'm guiding to have my hunter knock an arrow. Just knock an arrow.
Oh, really? So
Oh
he's
man,
constantly on knocking an arrow. Okay.
just knock an arrow before I call, because here's what happens, and it's happened so many times over the years, where you just call and the woods explode and a bull's on his way in. Now you're scrambling to get set up. You're scrambling to load an arrow. I mean, it's just a fire drill, right?
Yeah.
And if you would have just kind of just slowed down a little bit, knocked an arrow, be set up in some shooting lanes, and then throw off a few calls, if that ever does happen, you're going to be positioned to kill that elk, where instead of the cluster scramble, hope I get lucky, you know. So anyways, set your hunter up. If you're guiding, if you're hunting with a buddy or yourself, knock an arrow before you call. That's all I'm saying. It's a good idea. So anyways, couple cow calls, wait 30 seconds. Let's say your first bugle. What I try to teach people, Jim, is to be natural. Don't be unnatural. So first thing in the morning, you walk out the ridge. It's nice and quiet. Let's say it's a still September morning, right? It's cold out. It's quiet. You can hear a long ways. You don't want to go out there and be unnatural and just start screaming on your bugle. You got to throw a soft, like just kind of, hey, I'm over here. So if I'm trying to locate one, I'd probably do something like this. Just a little 2-note, soft, you know, just throw off a locator. I'd wait, same thing, wait a minute, maybe get a little more loud. But not like aggressive, you know what I mean? Just a bull stretching out, throwing out his sound. And that's what I do. And I'd only wait a minute. I don't want to waste too much time because I want to go out and hear off the other side. I'm looking for that bull that hits you right back.
Can I ask you a really dumb question?
Sure, there's no dumb question.
You're on the ridge, right? And you're like, okay, here's the drainage to my right. Looks like some good dark timber, might be an elk down there or whatever. How far are you dropping off that ridge? Like 10 yards or like 100 yards?
I mean, like 50 yards off the top, just to where you wouldn't be able to hear me from the other side because I'm over the edge, you know, on this side. So, you know, just maybe 50, 60 yards down the hill, just to where, you know, a lot of times the terrain's going to dictate how far I go down. You'll see like, oh, I can drop off this side. If I just go wiggle down a little bit, it kind of opens up and your calls are going to carry a lot farther. Where some spots it's more open timber and, you know, it's just going to carry right off the top. But so the terrain will dictate it a little bit. But, you know, these canyons I'm talking about aren't the biggest canyons in the world. It's not, you're going to hear them if they're down in there and you get a response. You should hear it. And so, yeah, I don't go too far off because I'm trying to cover that ground. And this is all first light, you know, morning type stuff. And we'll get into like what I do if I don't get a response, because that's important too. But anyways, right now I'm looking for a response. You know, it's our first day hunting together. You know, I just met my hunters. They came in. Wow, what's the plan? Well, we're going to go out one of my favorite ridges. Let's go see what happens. And so, you know, I'll work the ridge and I'll do that. I'll spend, you know, really not more than 5 minutes off one side. If I don't hear anything in 5 minutes, I'm definitely off the other side, and then wiggling out to the next set of ditches and that sort of thing. Now, if I was in new country, it's map is your best friend. But, you know, that being said, until you really get your boots on the ground, it might look really good on your map until you get there and you're like, oh, this terrain is not right. This is Blowdownville or you know, there's no shots, overgrown.
It's crazy
alders,
how different. It's crazy how different you could look at Onyx and it's like, man, we could cruise down that ridge no problem. And then you get in there and it looks like Blowdown alley.
You know, it's a good starting point. You know, it's a good starting point if you're in new country to definitely, you know, have a plan. And you can see it on a map. I mean, you know, if we all know how to read a topo map, or if you don't, you look for the long ridges, you know. But you'll see the creeks coming up off that spine. It's the head end of all the little creek ditches, right? The little tips of the creeks. Those elk, they're kind of 3/4 of the way up a lot of the times. So they're somewhere in that area. And that's why I like to stay high. And the reason I stay high, again, is so I can hear. You know, there's so much timber where we hunt. I've talked about this before, is I'm not hunting with binoculars. I mean, I'm in the timber and I'm looking at timbered canyons. I'm hunting with my ears. So, you know, I'm covering, instead of glassing something that's 500 yards away, I'm listening from 500 yards away to try to hear what's going on. But yeah, you know, again, cover the country. If it looks good, you got to go explore it. And that's just the nature of elk hunting. I mean, if you're in a new country, you don't know until you go. I've been in spots that looked amazing on my map, and I walked a long ways to get there, and it was terrible. I was like, oh man, what a waste of time. But you don't know until you go. That's what I always say. But I've had other spots that look good on the map, and I went there and we've killed elk just from looking at my map. So anyways, cover the ground early morning. That would be my first thing to do. And now here's the thing. What if you don't get a response? What do you do now? That's what I was going to ask you.
So you've been covering country, bugling off both sides, no response. What does Bob do?
Right. So I got to think about elk, right? On that ridge that you're going out, it's probably going to have little saddles. And if an elk's going from this side of the hill to this side of the hill, he's going to use the saddle, right? So a lot of times there's elk trails in those saddles crossing, right? If I come across hot sign, even if I haven't heard anything, if I got hot sign, I'm going to probably bail off down that trail. I like to stay on elk trails. There's a time to blast down the mountain and crawl through everything and you're on a beeline. Who cares what the terrain looks like? You're just on your way. But if I'm not actively pursuing a bull, the way I travel is like an elk. I would drop off on one of those spine trails that dip down into the canyon, probably on the north side, because that's where they're going to probably most likely bed. Anyways, if you drop off on those saddle trails, it'll drop you down, but that'll eventually turn into sideways trails. And then I could start traveling sideways through the heads of those ditches. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So I just try to stay on elk. If they're not bugling, I'm not getting response. Now all you can do is make your best guess judgment, on, okay, I feel like there should be elk down in here. There's water, there's food, they got everything they need down there. They could be in there. I would drop in and I call it swimming. I just start swimming through the draws and staying on elk trails. And I will call very, very softly. And, we were talking about this a little bit earlier about slowing down. When I get on those trails, I mean, I'm moving fairly quick unless I'm on hot sign. If I find some fresh sign, I slow way down. I mean, you can't go slow enough. And so, but I'm calling softly every couple 100 yards. And the last few years, at least here in Oregon, the bulls that I've been calling in the last 2 years didn't respond until I was very close, and they came in super fast. Like, we didn't make contact until I was within 100 yards or say. But I'm not even bugling loud enough to where they could hear me from 400 yards away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Maybe can you demonstrate that quiet call that you talk? Because I think that's, man, that is like so critical that people know how to be quiet with your bugle tube. And it took me a long time to learn that, man. But it has changed my world in the elk woods. And then I got a bunch of questions about this side hilling thing you're talking, the swimming.
For sure.
You call it swimming.
So I love to swim. So check it out. The way I've been getting it, I get on these elk trails, right? I'm slipping through the woods. I'm starting to see some sign. And I'll throw off an occasional mew, especially I'm not too worried about noise because elk are noisy themselves. I just mew soft. And when I say soft mew, like not I'm not doing that. As I'm going through the woods. If I want to squeal, that's all I'm doing. Short grunt at the end, just and these bulls. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to explain that to. So it's funny, man, because like a lot of the listeners are way better elk hunters than I am. They're way better than I am. Some of them, though, this is their first season. And so what I try to do is try to cover information for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I just want to talk about and maybe get your take on what you're doing there. Like, if you ever have the opportunity to go somewhere, you mentioned like an elk refugee, or I had my old property that was like a winter range for elk. And so I would be able to go up and just sit and listen and watch them, and so educational. But what you're doing is replicating, like, maybe there's a couple of cows and a bull, and they're just meandering, they're feeding, they're just kind of meandering through, like you were talking about swimming. And sometimes it is swimming, man, if you get in some thick alder brush or tall huckleberry brush or whatever. but you're just kind of mimicking that movement that they're maybe going to a different bedding area or working their way to a feeding area or whatever, but they're not in a hurry, and they're just kind of and they're just kind of talking to each other, not really saying anything in particular, right? I mean, is there anything you can add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. They're just feeding along. The elk talk, they talk.
Yeah.
They don't have to be super fired up to be talking, and they'll just kind of nibble a little bit, throw off a mew. They're nibbling. They're social critters, they're talking. It's not like rut activity or anything. They're just elk being elk. And so that's what I try to do when I do get into those situations where they're not talking. I just become an elk. I stay where they would be. Stay on elk signs, stay on tracks or, trails, and then just be an elk and be very aware of your surroundings. And you can't, again, I go real slow. You got all day. I'd rather that situation where they're not talking. I just enjoy the mountain. You know what I mean? Look where you're at. What are they eating? I like to look around at the plants and see what's getting nibbled on. And you'll find those areas where you're like, okay, they definitely like to eat something in here. And those are areas as I'm moving through, I just try to be an elk and soft and just nibble along, break a twig. Not just kind of inquisitive, I guess.
Yeah.
Without being all hyper, estrus cowy. That's what I like to do. And eventually, when I get a response, like I said, those soft squeals in the timber, it's not intimidating. You're not going to blow anything up. And I'm talking soft, short. That's it. Just to let them know there's a little bull in the area, and a lot of times, you'll get a response doing that. And you have to be close, though. You wouldn't hear that from 400 yards away.
I'd like to welcome Mystery Ranch as a sponsor to the Western Huntsman. This is a great product. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Mysterium line. Those packs include the Sawtooth 45, the Sawtooth 65, the Beartooth 85, and the Marshall 105, depending on what you're doing with the pack. If you from day pack to backcountry, plenty of space. I like what they wrote on the website. Between the disciplines of calculated preparation and in-the-moment focus, an intangible alchemy exists. We call it Mysterium. It is our most ambitious, tech-rich line of Mystery Ranch hunting packs constructed for the most methodical hunters. I'd agree with that. It's a great pack, guys. I really like the ventilation system. When you put it on, it's nice and tight, but you're still breathing a little bit less of that buildup between the pack and your back when you're sweating and out there packing through the mountains and whatnot. It's a super functional pack, very comfortable. Very good at carrying loads. I've been using it all spring between bear and just like I do a lot of rucking to keep in shape, and it has done a phenomenal job. I've got a lot of top-of-the-line packs out there, and I've always kind of geeked out with packs, but I really do like the weight distribution and the way that it allows you multiple options as to where you're going to either carry a water bladder or one of those Contigo containers or whatever you're going to use. Really impressed. I love the ease of how everything functions on it too. You don't need to watch a bunch of videos to figure out how to undo everything to pack a bunch of meat out. That's really important for a guy like me, I promise. I'm not super smart. So the simplicity, the comfort, the load distribution, it all makes for a wonderful backcountry hunting pack. If you are in the market, check it out at mysteryranch.com/Mysterium.
I was in a situation last year where I wanted to try this new spot, and on the coast, there's a lot of roads around, and the elk are in pockets on the coast. I'm not hunting giant canyons, and so they're in these little pockets. And I could hear a guy down on the road just screaming on his bugle. And I, obviously didn't answer. I don't really want anyone knowing where I'm at, what I'm doing. And on my Onyx, I could see where the timber changed. I was in kind of some sparse trees, and I could tell it got a little thicker, and there was a big bench. And as I worked my way up in there, we heard a cow, and so I did the same thing, super soft cow call, and then a bull bugled, but only loud enough for me to hear. That guy down on the road could not hear it. And I hit him back. about like that. And he was in within 30 seconds. He was standing at 40 yards. And, you know, this is all going on unbeknownst to the guy down on the road going. And it was early season too. It was the second day of the season. What's this guy doing that down there off a road?
I know. So, I run into that every year, man. There's always somebody on a four-wheeler going down the road, and then they stop the four-wheeler. Sometimes they even turn the four-wheeler off, and then they start blasting their bugle, and it's just like, it's insanity to me. But, you know, a lot of it is just, you know, these guys just don't know what they're doing yet.
I mean, it's a good way to, you know, if you're on a four-wheeler or a pickup truck, and we night bugle, you know, we'll drive to a spot and bugle, but we park around the corner, you know, walk 200 yards around the corner where they can't hear your diesel truck rumbling, and, you know, then throw out your bugles. Night bugling is a great way to locate elk. It's something we've done for years. So we like to night bugle. You know, you can go out and figure out where the elk are, which ditch, you know, sometimes at night, and give you a good starting point for the morning. So we used to do that guiding all the time.
I've done quite a bit of that.
Yeah. Now here's a little example of night bugling where I went into a canyon one time. We heard, I think there was 3 bulls in there, and they were going pretty good. And this was probably, you know, by midnight, let's say. And so, okay, we found the elk. Let's go back to camp, go to bed, you know, go back to camp, go to bed. Got up in the morning, walked in there, and we didn't get a peep. Okay. We didn't get a peep all morning. And we're like, we know they're in here. I mean, they didn't leave the basin, you know? And so one thing we did, we got kind of aggressive where me and my buddy spread out and kind of me and Rob have done this. We started calling back and forth to each other a little bit, but we started slow and natural. That's the key, is natural, being natural. Well, I bugled, my buddy waited a little bit. He kind of answered me. We waited a bit. We just let it be natural. Then I kind of like we were just getting up or something. And then I bugled, then he bugled. Couple cow calls, couple answers. Then he bugled, then I bugled a little quicker. And then we started cutting each other off a little bit. And we started moving closer to each other and starting to get louder, screaming. Pretty soon, after a half an hour of ramping it up, we were screaming at each other. All 3 bulls started bugling, and they were right all around us that whole time. We just had to kind of get them fired up. So there's a time and place to try that too. We knew they were there. It felt like we'd been there long enough to where they should be getting up on their feet. And we just kind of like, let's try to make something happen. And that particular day it worked. So
see, I love stuff like that. I love like out of the box strategies that like are just kind of, you know, wild and they work, you know, just weird things. Like my buddy Dirk taught me this trick where like if you kind of bugger a bull off after you've called him in, he'll scream at him as the bull's kind of buggering off, and then he'll just go on a dead run, trucking after this bull, and then stop and scream again and knock an arrow. Man, that almost worked for me last year. He calls it the wee-ap whiz-bang, you know, and
that's funny.
It's just, I love stuff like that when nothing's working, when you know, they're not getting responses. What, like, I like to come up or have these ideas like in my mental toolbox to be able to pull out, you know.
All right, I got one for you.
Yeah. Send that traffic, brother.
Okay, I invented this, at least in my own brain, because no one taught it to me. So this is called the scream and leave. And you have to have the right bull, and you have to have a hunter and a caller. So I'm guiding a guy. We got a bull answering across the canyon. We're over here. The bull was over here. And he answered every call, right? So I'm running down there. I like to, like I said, there's a time window. I like to make it happen pretty fast. Well, he stayed put, and he was answering, and I got up in there, and we got pretty close. Now he's just raging. He was screaming his head off, but the whole time I'd been bugling, I'd been cow calling as well, and moving towards him. Well, he hung up. He wouldn't come in. And now this was a satellite bull. It was a real heavy 5x5, you know, nice bull, but not a herd bull. Anyways, I got him at like 40 yards, scream fest, back and forth, but he would not come in. And I had my hunter set up, and I just kind of looked down, and there was like a basketball-sized boulder, and it was super steep. And I was like, I'm going to try something, I guess. So I snuck up, and I told my guy, you stay here. I'm going to do something. Let's just see what happens. And so I went down there. I screamed as hard as I could on my bugle, and then I grabbed that boulder, and I threw it down the mountain, and it was just going like it was running away. And then I ran away from that bull as fast as I could, running screaming on my bugle and cow calling, like the whole herd blew up and was running down the mountain. He shot that bull within 15 seconds.
Really?
As soon as I did that, that bull was like, he was so fired up to come in, but he was a little timid because he probably figured I was a big herd bull. As soon as I freaked out and left, that bull came in on a string. He shot him at like 10 yards. Wow. And it was a nice, heavy, big 5x5. So yeah, the old scream and leave. It takes, like, again, leave. The right bull that hangs up on you. If you get him super worked up and he's just frothing and he wants to come in, but he's a little nervous, and you just make it known that you are leaving, and see what happens. I've pulled that one off a couple times, and it's pretty incredible because you just faked him out. That's what's so fun about elk hunting, you know. You faked him out. You had him going, and you couldn't get him past your hunter. But then you do something like that, and when it worked, I was like, I don't see why it wouldn't. It makes sense.
Yeah, man. That's the kind of stuff too. And you know, we're talking from like a guiding standpoint. That there's nothing, you know, stopping people with, just out hunting with their buddies from trying that, because I feel like I wonder if there's a way, because I hunt a lot solo, and one time I was like calling it the slingshot, but I'd run up to a spot and I'd bugle, and then I'd run back, and or I said it backwards. I'd bugle. And then I'd run up and I'd wait for that bull, and he'd bugle back. And every time he's getting a little bit closer, and then I'd run back, and I'm talking like 100 yards. I'd run back up this ridge, and I'd bugle back there, and then I'd turn around and I'd run back forward to that spot. And every time he came in closer, then finally the wind swirled, and I totally got busted and blew him out, you know. But stuff like that, I mean, it could work. It can work. It does work.
I like that take. Yeah, 100%. You know, and that being said, so, like you're saying, hunting solo, that's another thing. These are all calling situations where, you're calling for your buddy. You don't have to be guided, you know, guiding or whatever. But usually it's when you have a caller and a shooter, that's your best odds. Because if you have a shooter out in front of you and I'm calling and I got a bull coming, I can literally steer him like a wheel. I can steer him past him. If that bull starts swinging around this way, I start swinging around that way, always keeping that straight line between the caller and the shooter and the elk. And so if that bull starts to swing and you start to swing and drift, and he's coming and you keep swinging and turning and drifting, you can steer him right by him. Now, here's something that's come up a lot, and I'm going to probably get a lot of blowback on this. Sometimes I do. I'm not a long range bow hunter. I've in 40 years of bow hunting, I've used my 40-yard pin one time. It's top pin almost every time. If you call in a bull, it's going to be top pin. And I tell this to people all the time. So I have the Bugling Bob calling kit in the shop over here for sale. It's got pictures of like 7 bulls on it, right? I was looking at it one day and I was like, holy shit, every one of those bulls was top pin. That was 18 yards. That was 13 yards. That was 15 yards. That one was straight up 20. And then my brother killed a giant 350 bull, really nice bull, in Idaho. And that bull was 13 yards. Now, what I was getting at was, you were talking, what I'm saying is it's going to be top pin. I don't like 90 yards. Mountain Challenge, Hoodoo, all this, the Northwest Challenge, great, cool. To me, 70 yards is not calling in an elk. I like close encounters. And it usually
I kind of do too, man.
I don't feel like I've ever even had a hunter shoot one past 40 yards, and it's usually closer than that. So what I was going to get at was, you know, the shots are close, but now when you're by yourself, all you can do is try to sound like you're farther away than you really are, you know? And so you're kind of pointing it behind you and trying to throw it back that way and get that bull thinking, oh, he's farther away. Also, that being said, a lot of my elk I've killed hunting solo have been frontal shots.
Really?
But they come right in because I'm calling. They come right in looking for me. I'm not, you know, I like it when my hunter's set up and the bull's looking that way. He's not even looking at my hunter. You know, he's focused on the caller. So, but when you're calling, a lot of times they come in looking and they're looking right at you. And, you know, when I was younger, the frontal shot was, you know, supposedly not a good thing. And we were kind of scared of it at first. But over the years, and I've seen articles on this too in some of the hunt magazines, the frontal shot's actually a pretty good shot, especially if you're 20 yards or less. I passed up a frontal last year. It was 40. And I don't like, I mean, I'm pretty deadly at 40 yards, but I'm not going to, I didn't want to shoot 40-yard frontal.
Yeah, and I think it's important, just from that aspect, because that is like a real controversial thing, the frontal shot.
It is.
But you got to understand, like for you guys out there, like Bob is a Robin Hooding archery expert level shooter. Like this, I don't recommend. No, I've shot with you, man. It's like that. You're a really good shot, and. I guess what I'm saying is, like, if this is your first year archery hunting, I don't recommend frontal shots. Get to that level that like Bob's at, and we shoot a lot, and I think that's critical, but I would totally agree, man. That frontal shot is money, and if you're 20
close.
yards or less, yeah. I wouldn't take that shot at 30 yards personally, but. Yeah. Personal preference.
No, I had a big 6-point bull staring right at me at 40 yards. He came walking right in again, looking right at me, and I already had a spot ranged where I thought he was going to come out, and when I heard him coming, I drew back, and he walked out and gave me a perfect 40-yard frontal. I didn't want to shoot that shot. Yeah, it's no fun to wound him, man. That's So that being said. I know archery equipment these days is fully capable of, these guys are shooting elk at long distances, and it's fun to shoot your bow 90 yards and everything like that. But for me, more so than even shooting a bull, for me, I just like calling them in. Okay. And calling them in means getting them in close. I love that close encounter with a bull elk. And so, 60, 80 yards, that's not even calling them in. I'm just getting started at 60 yards.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
especially some of this thicker stuff we hunt, man, 60 yards, you're not usually even seeing them at that point.
And hey, it's different for everybody. There's more than one way to do it. I'm just saying what I like and what works for me. I'm not going to knock anybody that kills elk, at longer distances.
Yeah, no.
Good for them. I just, what I was getting at earlier with those elk on my calling kit, there's 7 bulls on that kit. And then in our tuning booth where we tune bows, my brother has a poster of that 350 bull. And so that's 8. That's 8 and yards. That's just 8. But every one of those 8 was top pin or better. So,
wow.
Again, that's crazy. It kind of hit me one day. I was like, man, that's all of our elk are top pin close. And it's creating those encounters, like we're talking about. And so I just feel like, reading the bull that you're talking to, getting on, like I said, don't intimidate a younger bull. Don't be timid with the herd bull. Once you kind of figure a couple things out like that, you kind of learn how fast you can run in on them. Now I've run into a lot of bulls and spooked him. Oops, he was already on his way in and I was getting too aggressive and running down there. You run right into him. That's just part of bow hunting. It's part of calling, and it's going to happen. And a lot of times, the old silent bull, that's a whole nother topic. They're coming half the time. They're coming, and you're sitting there. It's been 10 minutes. You haven't heard a bugle. And next thing you know, you hear a twig snap, you turn your head, and you're standing right there at 20 yards. He just came sneaking in. He wanted to see what was going on. Yep. So, silent bulls, that's a whole nother issue. But
I know. I've go ahead.
No, I was just getting at, I could talk about this stuff all day. And these I want to make this clear. Like, this is just my opinion, Jim. There's so many good callers out there and good bow hunters and world-class hunters that shoot stuff a lot farther than I do and maybe have different calling tactics. There's a lot of really good information out there and really good hunters to learn from. I've had a lot of success, and I just kind of go with what works for me. And again, there's more than one way to do it.
Absolutely, man. And that's the whole point of this series. School of September is designed to bring in very successful elk hunters that have a little different perception, a different take, a little experience, or different experience. Everybody has a little bit different way to do it, because, we're talking about where a lot of the stuff that you and I hunt, whether it's Northwest Montana or the Oregon coast, it's really only going to be short range, 20 yards or less type kind of shots. When you go into some of that more open country in Colorado or Wyoming or Utah or somewhere, even like Arizona, you're going to start having a different conversation about what a close shot would be with a bow. And you probably should be a little bit better at 60, 70, 80 yard shots, in some of that more open country. But we have, I like this. A lot of people don't like this real thick stuff. I like it, man.
Love it.
It's so up close and personal. You know,
It's a
you
bow
can.
hunter dream.
It really
Yeah.
is, man. You can when you could damn near smell their breath. I just
Yeah.
think that that there's something a little bit more primal about that. You know what I mean?
It really is. Really is. Up close and personal is the best way. And it's
Yeah.
just amazing. The power of the call. I remember reading, so a book that changed my life back in the 80s it was called Elk Talk. And again, Don Laubach and Mark Henkel, they wrote Elk Talk. They wrote The Elk Hunter. Great authors. They're out of like Livingston, Montana, or down somewhere by Yellowstone. But that book like changed my life. Because when I was younger, we didn't have YouTube, so we read a lot of books. We went out and made a ton of mistakes. We were just trial and error. And I feel like that helped me because we didn't have any shortcuts. We just had to go out and learn how to figure it out, learn how to do it. It took a long time, like years, and again, still learning. But that book, Elk Talk, really, really got me excited about the cow call and the power of the call. And we use that book. I mean, it goes to camp with us every year. We kind of retouch on some subjects. They're talking about calling when it's cloudy, when it's sunny, calling. I get it all the time. Hey, do they come uphill better? Or do you call them down the hill? I mean, I like to get on their level and call them sideways, but I've had them come in down the mountain to me. I've had them come up the mountain to me. I don't really have a take on that.
I know. Yeah. And that's another thing with elk hunting, man, is like, there'll be this general consensus about something, like what is one? Oh, I'll give you one. When this was years ago, like this general consensus amongst all these expert elk hunters, and they were. I'm not, don't take that wrong, folks. Yeah. They were way better than I am. And anyway, but they were like, hey, during a full moon, the elk, they rut all night long and they're not going to make a peep all day. And so I always had it in my mind that hunting during a full moon was a terrible idea and you're just wasting your time. They're not going to talk. They're not going to bugle. Man, I have found that not to be true, man. Like, I am sorry. If it's a full moon, I love being out there and that midday madness and that whole, I don't know. I just like, don't let it affect me. There's other things though. They're like other things like this general consensus of, hey, they're always going to be on like a north or an east face slope in the dark timber midday. I think that 85% of the time that's true. Sure. But I have called in elk screaming mad on a sunny day, warm day on a south facing slope without much timber on it. And so it's just like there's like rules of thumb, but there's nothing that is 100% of the time. You know what I mean?
There 100%. Now that being said, what you just said, so I'm a firm believer in the hunt fish times that are on your GPS.
Yeah.
I have an app on my phone called ISO Lunar.
I know, man. I've been using. I got that app. I've been using it for fishing, and it works, man. Yeah.
Oh my God,
dude.
Yeah.
What's that app called?
Okay, so the one I use is called ISO Lunar, and that's just
that's the one I have.
It's a hunting and fishing app that tells you it tells you if it's going to be a good day, an average day, a great day, whatever. It goes 4 stars, so it's a 1 star, 2, 3, 4 star day. Anyways, okay, what I'm getting at, I check it every day. And when I first started guiding, so 1998, right? I start guiding. I didn't have a GPS. I never carried a pistol in that country. We're running around with grizzly bears and stuff. I don't carry a pistol. I don't got a GPS. I mean, I don't worry about much in the mountains, man. Anyways, what I'm getting at is back then we didn't have any of these resources, and until the Onyx and the GPS, that stuff's incredible. I mean, what a tool to have in your pocket. I mean, I
don't even remember hunting without it. Yeah.
I mean, I do, because I remember walking. Me and Boss took mules in to hang up a tree stand, and I couldn't find my wallow because I was farther down the mountain than I thought. But I was running all over the place. That's an interesting story. That was the day my daughter was born.
Really?
In 2006. She was early, like almost a month. I told my wife when I left, I was going to Montana. We lived in Idaho, going over to Boss's to hang up some tree stands. I had this hot wallow coming out of the side of this mountain. And me and Boss, grabbed the mules. We're out the trail. I'm running down. It's hot, July. I'm running around with no shirt on. I can't find my wallow. Couldn't find it. I was so embarrassed. He's laughing at me. He goes, no, we've all done this, because he doesn't use GPS either. Anyways, came up, couldn't find it. I just felt like a total fool. We were riding back out, and one of the other guides came running down the trail and said, hey, Bob, your wife's in the hospital. You're, having a baby. I'm like, oh, crap, And I had to run down the trail, drive. We made it. But anyways, I didn't have a GPS. So anyways, your GPS will have the hunt fish times on it. We check it every single day, Jim. If it says the best time of the day is between 2 and 4, be paying a little more attention around 2 to 4, because this is not just me checking it. We sit around the guide shack with all the guides at the end of every day for the whole entire season, right? Hey, what'd you see today? What time? This and that. And then we pull out our phone or our thing. And we're like, oh my gosh, it was right in the window.
I used it, man. Oh, go ahead. I cut you off. Sorry. Again, we have this weird delay going on.
Okay. Well, all I was going to say was obviously it's not 1000%. Like, you can't shoot an animal on a 1-star day in a window where there's nothing happening. Of course, that's not the case. But it's fun to look at. If you pay more attention during those peak times, and it's all off the moon phase and whatever that may be. Weather's got a lot to do with it. It's hunting. You don't really know. But what I'm saying is, if you look at that thing, I've been showing this to my buddy for like years. I've been doing this now. Every time we see an animal, I whip out my phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, right there. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. Why is that muley buck just standing there up on its feet, walking around feeding? 1:30 on a hot
weird.
day.
I wonder. It makes me like, how in that world does that work? And so you guys listening, ISO lunar. It's
ISO lunar.
It's ISOLUNAR. It's that, and you can specify. So I used it after you and I talked. I used it, and it rang true, man. It told me like the best time to call a turkey. Yeah. And I was out hunting and it was a bad time, and I'm like, okay, whatever, nothing's responding. I wait a few hours because it said like the peak time to call a turkey was like 11:20 a.m. that day, right? Right. So I go out at 11:20. No kidding, man. Freaking birds firing up everywhere. I don't get it. It's like, it's so crazy that it could be so accurate, but
and I've seen it enough times to where it's kind of something I teach people. I'm like, hey man, pay attention to that. It's fun. And then if you have a slow morning and you're hanging out with somebody, whether you're guiding or hanging out with your buddies, you can look at it and go, hey man, nothing's going to happen until 12:30 anyway. So just chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just chill. Just hang.
Yep. It's kind of fun. But yeah, I've been amazed with that over the years. I mean, really, really amazed. Like, it is just uncanny. And this is decades of looking at it. This isn't just a guy saying, hey, one time I saw a deer at 2:30 and it said it was the right time. I'm talking like every day I'm in the woods, I know what the best time of the day is. Every day. Yeah. So it's just fun. It keeps it in the back of your head, and it maybe gives you a reason to be excited at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, oh, maybe something's going to happen. But yeah, it's something to look at for sure. I definitely recommend having that app or on your GPS.
Are you okay on time for a minute? Can we keep going? Man. Okay, cool. Because I want to ask you, so we were kind of talking about, starting out in the morning, we're working down the ridge, we're bugling, we're side heeling, we're doing quiet calls, loud calls, all the stuff that we've discussed so far. What if you get to like middle of the day, you haven't heard a peep, like, those days where like even the squirrels aren't making sounds?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even the chipmunks aren't barking. It's just like a real still, quiet, sunny kind of day. And like nothing's really working. What do you do at that point? Do you have like, I don't know, tips on it? Like, let's break this open somehow.
For sure. I have a Yahtzee app on my phone. And so we'll sit there. I'm not kidding, man. It keeps you in the woods, and we'll sit there. I'm in a spot where I can hear, and I'll roll 30 games of Yahtzee until a bull bugles. I don't care. If I know they're there and they're just not doing anything, I mean, I just walked 3.5-4 miles to get in here, and they're not bugling right this second. That does not mean that, the elk are kind of on that 4-hour-ish schedule where they got to get up and eat every 4 or 5 hours and all that ish. So, it's hard to sit there. But this happened, was 2 years ago up there guiding, and in one of my favorite spots out one of my favorite ridges where I usually get into elk. And it was so windy that day, and we just couldn't hear. And I'm like, man, we walked all the way out here. I don't want to leave, but the conditions are terrible right now. Well, every time the wind just stopped for a second, I just scream out the loudest bugle I possibly could. And, you know, I had a choice. I could have either dropped off this side or I could have dropped off that side. And I didn't want to commit because, you know, you don't want to guess wrong. They're usually on one of those sides, sometimes both. But anyways, it was so windy. And we stayed there. We just slept, ate a sandwich, just laid around for 3 hours. And pretty soon the wind just died for a second. I ripped off the hardest bugle I could and a bull answered. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're on this side. I almost went off that side just for fun. And then I went down there. I dropped in and there was 3 bulls in there and I got them all up on their feet pretty quick. It sounded like the peak of the rut right at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a hot day, on a real windy day. And all I'm saying is if I wouldn't have just stayed there and I would have walked away, I would have walked away. And that was I felt like I was in a Primos video. It was incredible. And that was a steer fest. I got the middle bull. Just came right in. My hunter messed it up a little bit, but he got a shot. You know, that was But anyways, so you know, whatever you could do to keep yourself occupied. Again, that Yahtzee thing, it's for fun. You know, if you got time to kill and you're waiting and you're just sitting there with nothing to do. I mean, we were just out there having fun and let's play some Yahtzee. You know, and I used to carry before cell phones and like everything we had. I had dice in my pack. We'd sit there I'd carry 5 dice and a pen and a piece of paper, and we'd just be rolling on a stump, waiting for an elk to do. It gives you something to do, you know. So just that's what I would do. I mean, you know. Now here's also to mention touch on something you said. If you're not hearing squirrels and birds and other signs of life, and the woods are just dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Probably not any
animals close to you. They're not close. If there's where there's small animals, there's big animals. So if you're in a spot with no animals, like no squirrels, no birds, no life, then you're probably in the wrong spot. There has to be life. You know, there's got to be like, you need to hear activity, some kind of animal life going on. Because again, where you're going to find little critters.
You know what I'm talking about though? Like, I don't know if it's like weather or barometric pressure or what. Like I'll go in like onto a ridge that I know one day, and the elk are screaming, and then I go in the next day, and not even the chipmunks are barking. Like it just seems like the flies aren't even flying. It's just one of those weird days, and it just like changes. Yeah, it just and so I mean I don't know. I don't think there's really a solution to it, man. I think like you said, you just got to kind of wait it out and wait for conditions to change. So
it's tough. It makes for a long day. We've all been there. I mean, not every day is bugles and some days, sometimes you can go a long ways or a long time in between bugles and encounters and things like that. You have to find some way to stay positive and stay in the woods. Don't bounce around. Like, I mean, I know if you've hunted hard for 4 or 5 days in one spot and there's just nothing going on, move. But if it's just a day where, hey man, you know, I mean, who knows? In our country, maybe a wolf moved in there and howled all night. Now the elk are quiet. We don't know.
That does happen. Yeah, that does happen.
It can happen. So, you know, it's just, you know, we all have those slow days, and there's nothing any of us can do about that. That's just part of the game. But
what is like your favorite conditions to hunt in? Like overcast, sunny, rainy? Like what's your favorite conditions for what? Like you found it the best kind of conditions for bugling and screaming elk. Does that make sense? Sorry, I'm waiting for I got the when you live way out in the sticks like this, it's really hard when you've got like mechanical problems on your truck. It's such a pain in the butt to drive it clear into town. So I found these 2 young guys. They run this mobile mechanic, and he's so if you see me looking at my phone, he's texting me. He found the parts, and so he's on his way back out to fix my truck. So anyway, that's what I'm doing there.
No, I get it.
I had to give these guys a shout out. They're called Outshine, and I think they're out of Bonner's Ferry. But these young guys are on it, man.
Good
Heck
for them.
Yeah, man. Like they came and changed the oil on my truck. They like did my brakes, and now they're working on my emergency brake on my big truck went out. So they're working on that. So anyway, I just wanted to like kind of give you a little when you see me looking at my phone, right? It is always something.
Okay,
anyway,
so, to answer your question, man, I definitely have favorite time. So I just like, I can't stand wind, like hard wind where the trees are blowing sideways. You can't hear.
I know, man. I hate that.
You just
Yeah.
can't hear. I mean, I'm hunting with my ears, not my eyes. So if it's windy and you know, there's the trees are whipping back and forth and it's howling. I mean, your bugle doesn't even carry 50 yards. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's like hunting mule deer in the fog. You're not going to have any luck, you know, and you know you're not going to have any luck. You know, you want to glass a big basin for muleys and you can't see 10 yards in front of you because of the fog. Well, obviously you don't really have a chance that day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't stand wind. I like a nice still day. I like it crispy cold, you know, frost on the ground. You can see your breath. I mean, that's just a elk hunter's dream, right?
Yeah, man.
Super still, calm day that's cold and crisp where you can, it feels like everything's louder and amplified. You know, if you hear a branch crack, it just like sounds like you're in a coliseum. So yeah, I like a nice cold still day, still being the top choice.
Kind of
Yeah. Now I've had some luck in the rain. I've had some, you know, a light misty rain does not bother me. A downpour sucks because again, you can't hear. If it's just pouring so hard you can't hear, then yeah, it's tough.
Do you pull off? Do you pull out when it's a downpour rain like that and go back to the truck, or do you like wait it out?
I've done both. I mean, I can't tell you how many fires I've built on the side of a mountain over the years. I mean, you know, that's just, you're out there all day. Now guiding, you don't have a choice. You kind of have to, unless your hunter says, yeah, let's go back and, you know, warm up and eat or whatever. But, you know, you just got to be able to, you know, if I feel like it's something that might pass, yeah, stay out there. I mean, you walked all that way to get there, but if it's, you know, if you look at your forecast and it's going to rain for the next 3 days sideways, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's part of it too. I mean,
tough.
you only get, there's so many days in September and, you know, you can't pick the weather. And that's what's nice about having the entire season. You're going to get good days and you're going to get bad days. There's no way around it. And we hate to see it. I've seen guys pay big money to come out to Montana to go on that guided mule deer hunt, and they just get the wrong week and literally fogged out for a week. I mean, fogged out. Guys' dream hunt just turned into a nightmare because you can't see from 15 yards away, you know, where.
Dude, seriously, I mean, that fog, like 15 yards is not an exaggeration, man.
No,
sometimes it gets so, like, I mean, it's crazy how foggy. Because you think, we'll just kind of go, we'll just go cover some country and see if we can find one in its bed or whatever. No, you can't. Like, hey, they're going to hear you because the fog is so thick, and they're mule deer, and they're not dumb. They don't get big because they're dumb. You know, and so that really is a drag. That's a bummer, man. I'm kind of going through the lightning round questions with you here. So, if you had like let's say whatever, you're touring with Metallica, right? And so they're like, hey man, Bob, you can have 1 week off in September to go hunt elk, but then you got to be back on the bus and we're going to the next show. What week are you picking?
First
in
week.
September. First week
every year.
Really? I think you're the first person
year.
Dude, I knew we would get along. You're the first person I think that has actually picked that first week.
It's a no-brainer for me.
I love the first week. Kind of expand as to why you picked that week, man.
Yeah. Okay. So those elk haven't talked to a human all year. They're completely unbothered. They're in their natural, normal routine. Every year. I mean, this is going on for decades. In that first couple days, I'll get a bull that'll just cross a whole canyon to me, like fired up. He just can't believe there's another elk over there. They want, you know, it's just that first week is so fresh and the elk, you know, once you call in a bull and spook him, he's harder to call in.
Absolutely.
If you're hunting public land and a bull's got some pressure and he runs over there and he gets some pressure, I mean, he's going to be harder to call in. Those bulls that first week, they're ready to go. I mean, you know, here's another thing. I hear bulls. I mean, obviously they can make a sound anytime they want all year round, but people go, when do they bugle? Well, they can bugle in July. Okay. But they don't as much. But I feel like in August, when that velvet comes off, they're callable. Like they are callable. The second that velvet comes off, August 15th, they're talking. I've done it for years in Idaho. I go to spots where I'm not going to hunt, just so I could hear some bulls and, play with them a little bit.
Yeah.
In areas that I didn't plan on hunting, because I don't want them to know I'm there until opening day.
Right.
But anyways, I have always liked that first week. I mean, it's not peak rut, third week, September 18th to the 21st is like always the money time if the weather's right. But that first week can be so good, man.
It can be.
It can be. And
the most active week I've ever had, and I don't even know if I want to say this, because one of my favorite things about that first week is nobody's out hunting. Right? Like everybody's like, oh, I'm waiting till the 10th. I'm waiting till the 15th. And that's cool. But that first week, I love it. I'm the only one on the mountain, and one of the most active, busiest weeks I've had the time. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's just like every day I was in bugles was during that first week. And that was 2 years ago. It was the best full week of elk hunting I've ever had. It was so much fun, man. Me and my girls were out just getting into so much action. Anyway, for all of you listening, you just stay out of the woods the first week. So I still have
that's my week.
That's my week. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I'm pretty pumped you said that, because I've never had anybody actually tell me that first week, and that for me, it's everybody just discounts it, man, and I love it. I love the first week and I love the last week. So
here's another reason why too, Jim. Usually that first week is pretty hot, right?
Yeah,
and it's end of August, very beginning of September. You're usually pretty warm.
Yeah,
that just concentrates the elk. They're right by the water. They're a little more predictable. Where once it starts raining and start, I mean, they kind of sprinkle and spread out a little bit. Where I feel like, especially like here in Oregon, I mean, it's hot Julys and hot August, and so our season starts next month on August 30th. I can't wait to be out there. I'm going to be out there that whole first week before I come to Montana. But it concentrates them by water. They got to drink. And if it's hot, and if kind of where the water sources are, which is pretty easy to find that on a map. If you hang around water and find some elk sign, and I mean, they are coming to drink. They are thirsty. They got to drink a ton. And that early season, that first week, they're thirsty. They're getting horny. They're getting ready to rut. And I love that early season, man.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, man. They're just so much more curious about what other elk and what other bulls are on the mountain. That first week, they're just like, I was like, I need to know if I'm bigger than that guy, or I need to know if that guy can kick my butt. So
and they do know each other. If they're hanging around, you got 3-4 bulls hanging out in a basin, they know each other. And so that's another thing. That first week, I like to be really subtle. I messed this up a couple years ago. I will say this. When we were talking earlier about slowing down, how I've slowed down over the years. A couple years ago, for 3 straight nights, right behind my camp where I was camped in Oregon, there was 3 bulls, and they were fired up. I mean, they were bugling. It sounded really, really good. So for 3 nights, I had to sit there, and I couldn't go down in there. And they were close. I couldn't call at them. I just had to sit there and listen. Well, where did I go first thing? Opening morning. Right there. What did I do? I bugled, because I know there's a bunch of bulls in there. They didn't answer. So, man, I bugled again. And then I started bugling more. And then I started bugling. I know they're here. And I couldn't get them going, man. And I didn't, I kind of went in there and bungled it up. I should have been more patient. Like they were bugling every night in there for 3 nights. Why wouldn't I just go in there at night on that 4th night? But I went in first thing in the morning because it was opening day. And I felt like I know they're here, and I tried to force it and get them, to go, and they didn't. They wouldn't talk. So I felt like I kind of messed that up. I should have been a little more calm, a little more slippery and slidey in there. But you know what I'm saying? It's you get excited, so you're like, oh, I'm going to go call one in, but they got to be in the right mood.
I've like destroyed more elk hunts because I get too excited and too aggressive too soon, kind of thing. But it's part of elk hunting, brother.
Yes.
Okay, so last lightning round type kind of question.
Sure.
Because I like to ask specifically guides this question, because you guys have so much experience with different personalities, different gear things, different mistakes made, different just circumstances. Just a lot of circumstances that guides get into with a lot of different types of people. So what would you say is like the top 1 to 2, maybe even 3 mistakes that hunters make that cost them a notched tag at the end of September. Like, is there like this over the last 30 years, this consistency that you've seen that's like, oh man, that just cost that guy this bull or this hunter that bull? What would you think that? What comes to mind?
First thing that comes to mind is movement. You know, they move at the wrong time, and it's knowing when to draw your bow. I've had so many hunts fall apart. I call it the critical moment. Like the bull's here, he's in the critical encounter, the critical moment. They didn't draw their bow in time, and then it walks in and it freezes, and then as soon as they start to draw, you know, it spooks. I've had guys get up, think they had a better spot in mind. Oh, I'm just gonna go over by that tree. I put you here for a reason, and I'm steering it by that bush for a reason, and then you moved, and a lot of times you're behind the hunter, and not in visual distance, you know, but you're close. And he gets up and moves, and now I just called the bull past the wrong tree because he got up and walked over there. But no, movement is the killer of a lot of hunts. When you get in that tight, like I'm talking top pin every time, you got to move when you can move and not move when you're not supposed to move.
Yeah.
So not drawing your bow in time, drawn too soon cost me a bull with the guy last year in Montana. But you know, it wasn't his fault. You know, the bull was going to walk out, so he drew. Well, the bull stopped and started raking a tree right in front of him, but he didn't have a clean shot. So now he's at full draw for 2 minutes. And
start to shake.
He finally had to let down, and that bull caught him and ran off.
Dang, man, what a heartbreaker.
That was bad luck. It just stopped to rake a tree. I mean, it happens. But no, he drew at the right time, but he just, you know, that's bow hunting too. But I'd say movement's the key. When you get in that tight, you got to know when to move and when not to move. That would be my biggest thing, really. You know, that, and you know, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. So, but I would say this, trust your guide. If you're going to go on a guided hunt and your guide is telling you this stuff because he wants you to be successful, he doesn't want you to fail. But trust him, because he's probably been in that country a long time and seen a lot of stuff. And he's just trying to help you, you know, accomplish that goal of killing an elk with your bow. So if your guide is telling you something, you know, hey, you know, even for me, if I went on a guided hunt, if that guy tells me to do something, I'm going to do it, because I don't hunt his country. It might be a little different there or something, but trust your guide. Try not to move at the right time. Oh, and here's another one that drives me crazy, man. If you're with somebody and they bugle, be quiet.
Yes.
I mean, I bugle, and then my guy behind me starts unzipping stuff and fishing around in his pockets,
going through his,
and I can hear twigs snapping. I'm like, man, be still, please. You know, I mean, like, still. You know, like, so anyway,
like, don't even blink. I know.
Don't blink. I don't want to hear you breathe. No, when I bugle, just be quiet. But you know, the biggest thing, obviously, I think that's cost more guys animals than anything is when to draw your bow. And it cost me a lot in my career. It cost me a lot of elk. One time I had a big 7-point walk right in. My brother was right next to me, and when that bull came walking in, I just turned to my brother and I go, hey man, his antlers are white. It was a 7x7 with like this much ivory tips.
Oh,
you know?
wow,
So
cool.
I just saw white coming in, and I'm talking to my brother, telling him how cool it is instead of drawing my bow. And it just walked right out and looked at me.
Wow.
And then it ran off, and my brother goes, I turned to him, I go, dude, wasn't that cool? He goes, yeah, it'd be cooler if you drew your bow next time. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that part. It happened.
Yeah,
So,
it does, man. It's just great stuff. I know. You know, I think we've all, if you hunt elk long enough, something like that's going to happen. Where it's sometimes it's just not about killing the bull, man. It's you just called this big bull in, and I'm just like, there's been times where I'm just kind of soaking up the moment, and I don't draw my bow either. I don't even knock an arrow. You know, it's just And that's by accident. I want to kill a bull. It's just I get caught up in the moment, and you know, it happens. But
I would say this too, to kind of, I know we're getting kind of close here, but the thing I try to remind everybody is, man, it's just elk hunting. It's something we're super passionate about. I love this more than anything in the world, but there are so many more important things in life and in a human's lifetime that mean a lot more than killing an elk with your bow. I mean, obviously,
absolutely.
You know, family, friends, things that matter. Enjoy your time out there, because time can be fleeting. Don't just enjoy it. if you go on a bow hunt, you're going to spend 99% of your time walking around the woods with your bow, chit-chatting with your buddy, playing Yahtzee, building fires, eating food. Like, enjoy it. And when it goes right, when everything goes right, it's incredible. And it's like, wow, that was easy. That's what I've always said after a successful elk hunt. It always feels like, man, that was just pretty easy. I mean, I called, he answered, he called him right in. He didn't see you draw. You shot him. I heard him fall down right over there. I mean, wow, that was easy. But it doesn't always happen like that. So that's 1% of the time. If you're not enjoying the mountains and your company you're with, you're missing out, man, because you're
wasting your time. Yeah.
It's too much fun. I mean, I'm happy just being out in the outdoors. And in September, you can't ask for a better time. Enjoy it with your family, with your friends, whoever you're with, and respect the land, respect the animals. And that's all I got to say about all that. So.
Man, I'm glad you said that. I think that doesn't get talked about enough. There's nothing worse than when you take somebody out hunting and like maybe things aren't going right, you're not getting bugles, and they get cranky. It's like they just get cranky about it. Like, dude, this is way better than sitting in a cubicle or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. I mean, let's just soak up the whole experience, man. Shoot a squirrel with your bow if you're that bored.
Oh yeah, if you want.
I'm kidding about that.
Yeah, I just don't like killing stuff to kill it. But if my go ahead. But anyways, I just get at like in the grand scheme of life, this is one of the most important things to me in my whole entire life is calling in bulls. Mm-hmm. I look forward to it like nothing else. It keeps you're thinking about it year round. I shoot my bow year round. I blow my calls year round. Talk to people, this and that. I spend all my time in the woods and on the river. But I really enjoy all that stuff because when it comes down to it, the actual drawing back on an elk and releasing an arrow is like the tiniest little percentage of it. Yeah. So really just try to enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the process. And, hey, we get to play in the World Series every year. This is my World Series. Yeah, man. So I feel like I get to play in it every year. You don't win the World Series every year. With guiding, that's the beauty of it. If you have a bad week, you got next week. This week we had a great week. Then you got next week, week, it's a long season for us people that do the entire season. So I'm definitely not going to let a slow day or two ruin my vibe.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Just have fun, just to soak it up. It's the whole experience that makes this thing, elk hunting, beautiful. It's everything. It's from seeing the sunrise to hearing the chipmunks and squirrels and hearing the elk bugle sometimes, and getting your heart about coming up your throat because a grouse just blew up in front of you, and scared you half to death. It's just, it's everything. I love the whole process. So, Bob,
it's incredible.
Tell everybody where they can find you if you have social media you want to point them to, or and definitely plug your shop out there and what you guys are doing there.
So the name's Bob Capka. You could probably see it on the screen right there, but I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I don't post a ton. Maybe I'm going to start posting a little more these days, but that's where, like, if something's coming up where I'm doing some kind of show or something comes up, I'll be on there and people know about it. Like, I have these calling classes coming up. We got one Friday night, and then I got one in 2 weeks, and it's
we'll say the dates because I don't know when this episode will actually be live. So what are the dates on the calling classes?
It's July 11th, which is this Friday night at Archers Afield. It's the bow shop that I work at here in Tigard. Archers Afield's been here for like over 40 years. The same owners. It's an incredible place. And anyways, I do the calling classes here. So yeah, July 11th, and then it's the 25th or the 26th. It's a Friday night. And they go from like 6 to 7:30. The first one, everyone brings their calls. The second one, we talk about all these little tricks and tactics, scream and leave, that kind of stuff.
So the 25th would be the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, the 25th.
That's the Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna shoot you some pictures. I got like the flyers for it and stuff, and you get all that, and I'll maybe send you a couple bowls or something. But anyways, social media. I'm not huge on social media, but I definitely have a little presence. Definitely on the music side of things. I've got almost 5,000 Facebook friends from all over the world. People I've met along the way in different countries and stuff, and it's cool to still stay involved with that. that whole music thing, every time I think I was done, like, okay, I'm kind of done with that. I'm getting older and stuff. Man, my phone rings and then I'm out on some tour or something. But in the last 5 years, it's been like, nah, I'm hunting and fishing now. I've seen enough of the world where I know I'd rather be in Montana, Idaho, Oregon, more than, England or, something like that. So
that's how I am, man. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I had the fortune of traveling the world on the government's dime in the military, and it's just like, I loved it. I loved seeing all those places, but man, the American West, brother, that's where I want to be.
Yeah, Croatia is pretty cool, but there's no bull elk there. So
I've been to Croatia.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
Okay, cool, but I'd rather be in Montana. So. Awesome chatting with you, Jim.
Thanks a bunch, man. Stick on the line for just a minute, but I appreciate, before I hit the stop record button here, I just appreciate you coming on, man. I think you got a lot to offer hunters out there, and so I appreciate you being willing to share it and talk to us, and the listeners are definitely going to get a lot out of this episode. So, what's the name of the bow shop you work at?
Archers Afield. It's
Archers Afield. Okay.
Archers Afield. Yeah, it's in Tigard, Oregon, and it's like I said, been here forever. If anybody out there needs anything answered about your archery equipment, definitely give me a call. I tune bows for a living. I shoot broadheads for a living. I shoot broadheads for about 5-6 months out of the whole year. I'm shooting broadheads. Yeah. And so I can make sure your stuff's flying good. And it's so easy. If people just call me, I can talk to them and be like, hey, I can get you fixed right up, whatever your issues may be. Don't throw that out there, man. This is a pretty big audience. You might get overwhelmed. Hey, I'm happy to help them, man. That's why I'm here. Awesome. And I'd rather be helping people with their bow than fletching arrows or something. So you know what I mean? Sure.
So, well, cool, man. We're gonna have to definitely do this again. So
anytime,
thanks again.
Jim.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to get you back on, and that was I knew it was gonna be a good one. You too, man. Thanks a bunch.
All right, you bet. We'll see you next time.
You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram @TheWesternHuntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.